Hey everyone. Welcome to Six Path Weeb. Today's fanfiction discussion explores an exciting what-if scenario. What if Naruko mastered the Nine Tails power early? Disclaimer, this channel is dedicated to entertainment and in-depth discussions. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in my videos, all rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, stood by the window of his office in the Hokage Tower, gazing down at the village with a heavy heart. His expression was not only one of disappointment toward the people of Konoha but also toward himself, for failing to protect the 6-year-old child resting on the couch behind him. That child was Naruko Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. Only moments ago, she had been brought to him after enduring yet another attack by villagers who failed to distinguish between a kunai and the scroll it was sealed in. What have I condemned this child to? No one deserves the hardship she has endured, Sarutobi thought solemnly. Sensing an incoming presence, he turned toward the source just as an Anbu operative wearing a crow mask appeared in a swift movement. "Report, Crow," he instructed in a firm tone. "Hokage-sama, all individuals involved in the attack on Naruko have been apprehended and are now in Ibiki's custody. The final count includes 14 civilians, 3 Jonin, 3 Chunin, and 1 Jonin," Crow reported in an even voice. Letting out a deep sigh, Sarutobi gave his next orders. "Tell Ibiki he has my full authority to interrogate the shinobi as he sees fit. As for the civilians, send them to Anko. The only restriction is that they must remain unharmed. I want them to understand the consequences of breaking the laws of this village." Elsewhere in Konoha. "Why do I suddenly feel like shaking the Hokage's hand?" asked Ibiki, the scarred interrogation specialist. "I'm not sure," replied his purple-haired colleague, Anko, a playful smirk on her face. "But it sure feels like a holiday." Back in the Hokage's office, Crow inwardly noted the implications of these orders. Giving Ibiki and Anko free rein. It might be a harsher lesson than they anticipated. Outwardly, he simply responded, "Understood, Hokage-sama," before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. With Crow gone, Sarutobi turned his attention back to Naruko, who remained asleep on the couch. The sight of her in such a state filled him with deep regret. Her usually bright golden hair was matted with dried blood, her white shirt and blue shorts were torn and stained, and her small feet were bare and dirty. Unable to bear the thought of this happening again, the Hokage made a decision, one that he hoped would change the course of Naruko's life for the better. Resolving himself, he motioned to the hidden Anbu stationed around the room. 4 masked figures appeared instantly, kneeling before him: dog, crane, bear, and lizard. "I am about to initiate an SSS class protocol," Sarutobi stated firmly. "You are all to remain outside until I call for you. No one is to enter, no matter their rank or position in the village. Anyone who attempts to do so is to be stopped immediately." The Anbu hesitated for a fraction of a second. Such a protocol was rarely invoked, as it signified an operation of the highest secrecy. However, the Hokage's sharp gaze left no room for debate. With a silent nod, the 4 Anbu disappeared to take their positions outside the office. Once the room was secured, Sarutobi activated one of his strongest soundproof and security barriers. He then moved to the center of the office, pulling back a plain black rug. As he dispelled the genjutsu concealing the floor, a complex seal was revealed beneath it. Biting his thumb, he knelt over the seal, writing his name in its center and pressing his bloody fingerprints beneath it, similar to the process of signing a summoning scroll. Next, he formed a hand seal, crossing the index and middle fingers of both hands. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 identical copies of himself appeared, each reinforced with about 20% of his chakra. Panting slightly from the exertion, he instructed his clones, "Take your positions at the cardinal points of the seal. We must execute this precisely. If even one of us is off, it will fail. On my count. 1, 2, 3. In perfect synchronization, the 4 figures began a rapid sequence of 50 hand seals, so swift that only a master of the Sharingan could hope to follow. At the final seal, they all pressed their palms onto the designated points of the seal. In an instant, the 3 clones vanished in a puff of smoke, and in the center of the seal, a large black scroll appeared, marked with the kanji for fire. A small, excited voice broke the silence. "That was amazing, Gigi. Do it again." Startled, Sarutobi turned to see Naruko sitting up, her bright blue eyes filled with curiosity. "And Naruko, how long have you been awake?" he asked, still catching his breath. "Right before you slammed your hands down and made the extra U's disappear," she replied cheerfully. Chuckling softly, Sarutobi reached into his robes and retrieved a food pill, swallowing it to quickly replenish his chakra. He then picked up the scroll and moved to sit beside Naruko on the couch. "How are you feeling?" he asked gently, though he already dreaded the answer. Naruko gave a small shrug, offering him a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'm fine, Gigi. I'm used to it by now." Sarutobi's heart ached at her words. No child should ever have to get used to such treatment. But that was about to change. Sarutobi knew he did not want an answer to that question. "Naruko-kun, this scroll I hold in my hands is my way of apologizing for the challenges you have faced in this village. Before you say anything, please allow me to explain. A child should never have to wake up fearing mistreatment or endure isolation and resentment from those around them. 6 years ago, this village experienced a devastating tragedy, the attack of the nine-tailed fox. That night, many lives were lost, and the village was nearly destroyed in a matter of hours." "I know that, Gigi," Naruko replied, her expression puzzled. "You've told me this story before. The fourth Hokage gave his life to defeat it." Sarutobi shook his head solemnly. "The nine-tailed fox is not a living creature in the traditional sense, it is a manifestation of chakra. It could not be slain, only sealed away." Naruko was perceptive. The mistreatment she endured, the cold glances, the way people distanced themselves from her, it all suddenly made sense. A feeling of unease settled in her chest. "So, the fourth Hokage sealed it inside me, didn't he?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why me? Of all the people in the village, why did he choose me?" With a sigh, the Hokage walked to his desk, pulled out a framed photograph from one of the drawers, and handed it to her. "This is a picture of the fourth Hokage and his wife," he said gently. Naruko turned the frame over and gasped. The image showed a man with wild blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, standing protectively behind a woman with long, deep red hair and striking violet eyes. They were both smiling, and the woman's rounded belly indicated she was expecting a child. "These are your parents," Sarutobi continued. "Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Your mother, Kushina, was the previous Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails." He paused as Naruko's eyes widened in shock. "It's true. On the night of your birth, Minato and I took every precaution because we knew that the seal holding the nine tails inside Kushina would weaken due to the strain of childbirth. However, an unknown enemy infiltrated the birthing chamber and broke the seal, releasing the nine tails. By the time I arrived, Minato had already made his decision. He sealed the beast inside you. He believed it was the only way to protect the village. His final wish was for you to be seen as a hero." Sarutobi's expression turned sorrowful. "But the people. They failed to honor his wish." Naruko's gaze dropped to the floor as she processed his words. "I remind them of everything they lost that night. That's why they look at me the way they do." Silence filled the room before Naruko took a deep breath and looked up. "You're telling me all of this for a reason. What is it? Is that scroll something my parents left for me?" Sarutobi shook his head. "No, Naruko, this scroll is not something from your parents. It is one of the village's most closely guarded secrets and greatest treasures. The knowledge within it has the power to make you one of the strongest shinobi to ever walk the elemental nations, stronger than even myself one day." His eyes locked onto Naruko's, filled with sincerity. Naruko was stunned. She had never seen that look in the Hokage's eyes before. "Gigi, why are you giving me this power? What if I used it to harm the village instead of protect it?" Sarutobi's expression grew somber. "After witnessing the way this village has treated you for the past 6 years. They have given you every reason to resent them. And for that, I, too, share the blame. I placed my faith in the people of Konoha, hoping they would see beyond their fear and recognize an innocent child burdened with an unfair fate. But I was wrong. I failed you." He let out a deep sigh. "By giving you this scroll, I am asking for your forgiveness." Naruko shook her head. "I'm not foolish, Gigi. I know you can't be everywhere at once. You have an entire village to look after, not just one person. You were there when you could be. You tried. And that means something to me. I forgive you." A small, grateful smile formed on Sarutobi's lips. "Thank you, Naruko. But even so, I still want you to have this." He gestured to the scroll in his lap. Naruko hesitated before nodding. "All right, I'll accept it. But what's inside? How can it make me stronger than you?" The Hokage's expression turned serious. "What I am about to show you is a secret known only to the Hokages and their chosen successors." He moved to the center of the room and unfurled the scroll, revealing 4 distinct sections marked with the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. He bit his thumb just enough to draw a drop of blood, then pressed his name and handprint onto each section. "What I'm about to do is something that should only be done in dire situations," he explained. "And I believe your circumstances qualify." With that, he performed a series of hand seals for a summoning jutsu and pressed his palms to the floor. The symbols on the scroll began to glow, forming intricate summoning circles beneath each numbered section. A moment later, 4 distinct puffs of smoke erupted from the scroll. As the haze cleared, 4 figures emerged. The first was a tall man with tan skin, brown eyes, and long black hair. He wore red armor resembling that of a samurai, black ninja sandals, and bore the Senju clan symbol on his armor's collar. A forehead protector with Konoha's emblem rested on his brow. The second man had wild white hair, red eyes, and streaks of red markings under each eye and on his chin. He wore blue samurai-like armor, black ninja sandals, and a face guard with the Konoha symbol displayed prominently. The third individual had brown eyes with dark vertical lines beneath them, spiked brown hair, and a small goatee. He wore a black full-body jumpsuit with a mesh shirt underneath, gray armored shoulder guards, and a forehead protector with long black straps. The final figure had striking blue eyes and spiky blonde hair with 2 distinct bangs framing his face. He wore the standard Konoha Jonin uniform, a green flak jacket, and a forehead protector. Over his uniform, he wore a short-sleeved white trench coat adorned with flame-like designs at the hem. These 4 individuals were none other than the first, second, third, and fourth Hokages of Konohagakure. The former Hokages took a moment to gather their bearings before focusing on the one who had summoned them. The first to speak was Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. "You've aged, Saru," he remarked, looking at his former student. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, let out a small sigh at the comment, given that he hadn't seen his teacher in over 40 years. "Thank you, sensei. I've missed you too," he replied with a touch of sarcasm. "It's been a while, monkey brat," added Tobarama Senju, the second Hokage. Sarutobi managed a small smile. "It's good to see you as well, sensei." "You certainly have a youthful look," commented the younger version of Sarutobi, who appeared at least 30 years younger than the real one. "Well, when you're right, you're right. Who am I to argue?" The older Sarutobi responded with a chuckle. While the light-hearted exchange continued for a moment, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, turned his attention to the situation at hand. "It's nice to see you all again, but if you summoned us, there must be an important reason. What's the emergency?" he asked. Before Sarutobi could answer, Tobarama noticed something, or rather, someone, else in the room. "Who's the blonde over there?" he asked, pointing across the room. Sarutobi followed his gaze and saw Naruko Uzumaki sitting on the couch, her jaw practically on the floor, eyes wide in shock. "This is my successor, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze," Sarutobi said, introducing Minato to Hashirama and Tobarama. The 3 Hokages exchanged respectful bows. Tobarama, however, wasn't referring to Minato. "Nice to meet you, Minato, but I was actually talking about the other blonde, the one who looks like she just saw a ghost," he clarified, nodding toward Naruko. True to his words, Naruko's eyes were as large as ramen bowls, and her mouth hung open in disbelief. She had been frozen in that expression ever since the smoke had cleared, revealing each legendary figure. But when Minato appeared, her reaction intensified. "He's right there. My father. But how? He was gone 6 years ago," she thought, overwhelmed. Sarutobi placed a gentle hand on Naruko's shoulder before addressing the group. "This young lady is Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. She is the reason I've summoned you all. Naruko carries a burden that each of you is familiar with." "The 9 tails," the Hokage stated in unison. Naruko blinked in surprise. "How did you know that?" she asked. Hashirama offered a small smile. "I was married to the first Jinchuriki of the 9 tails, and I've had my share of encounters with the beast." "I'm a sensory-type shinobi," Tobarama added. "I can sense the 2 different energies flowing within you. I, too, have spent a lot of time around the first 2 Jinchurikis of the 9 tails," said the younger version of Sarutobi. Minato, who had been silently watching Naruko, took a slow step toward her. Kneeling in front of her, he carefully examined her before his gaze settled on the stains on her clothes. His expression softened with concern. "Like the first Hokage, I was in love with a Jinchuriki of the 9 tails, so I can recognize its presence even when it's sealed away," he said. "Naruko, what happened to your clothes?" he asked gently. Before she could answer, Sarutobi intervened. I will explain everything in due time. But first, Naruko, I want you to understand how the former Hokages are here. Naruko turned to him, still slightly overwhelmed. Do you remember when you first woke up here and saw those copies of me before they disappeared? He asked. Yes, Gigi, she responded. Well, those were shadow clones. Shinobi use many different types of clones in battle, such as water clones or earth clones. However, these 4 Hokages were created using a very different technique, a blood clone jutsu. The room remained quiet as Sarutobi continued his explanation. This jutsu creates a perfect replica of a person, complete with their memories and an independent chakra network. Unlike standard clones, which vanish after taking damage or when their creator dies, blood clones can continue to exist on their own. However, using this technique comes at a steep price. The user must sacrifice half of their blood and 90% of their chakra. When I used it, I was in a coma for an entire week. If someone attempted it without being in peak condition, it could be fatal. Because of its dangers, this technique isn't listed on the Forbidden Scroll. Instead, it is only passed down from Hokage to successor. Naruko listened intently as Sarutobi revealed the true secret of the Hokage lineage. When someone takes on the title of Hokage, they are required to perform the blood clone jutsu and seal the clone inside a special scroll, the one you saw earlier. These clones are only meant to be released in times of extreme emergency. His gaze softened as he looked at Naruko. The reason I released them today is simple. Every child deserves to have a family and to be protected. While this Minato is a clone, he is still the closest thing I could give you to the family that was taken from you. Naruko couldn't hold back her emotions any longer. She sprang from the couch and ran straight into Sarutobi's embrace, wrapping her arms around him as tightly as she could. Tears streamed down her face as she sobbed into his robes. Sarutobi held her close, unable to stop his own tears from falling. After several minutes, Naruko cried herself to sleep, exhaustion taking over. Sarutobi carefully placed her back on the couch, ensuring she was comfortable. Once she was settled, he turned to face the gathered Hokages, prepared to discuss the next steps. Sarutobi, what exactly is going on? Demanded the clone of the 4th Hokage. The elderly Sarutobi sighed deeply before explaining Naruko's life up to this point. By the time he finished, the expressions of the gathered clones ranged from deep disappointment in the village they had once sworn to protect to unwavering determination. The 4th Hokage's clone also felt a profound sense of guilt, knowing that he, or rather, the original, had unintentionally placed Naruko in this difficult situation. If I could, I would set myself straight for making such a decision, the 4th Hokage's clone admitted with regret. You have an opportunity that your original self never had, the real Sarutobi stated. You can be there for her now. You can train her, guide her, and ensure that she can defend herself. That is why I released you from the scroll in the first place. I want all of you to train her. Whoever interfered with Kushina's childbirth knew exactly what they were doing when they unleashed the 9 tails. I fear that whoever was behind it is not finished yet and may come after Naruko in the future. With the guidance of 4 Hokages, she will have a much stronger chance of protecting herself. Do you even need to ask? The Minato clone responded with conviction. By the time I'm done training her, she'll be one of the strongest shinobi in the world. You mean by the time we're done training her, corrected the 1st Hokage's clone. Even if she weren't a distant relative, I would still take it upon myself to train her. I'm with you, brother, the 2nd Hokage's clone agreed. The way this village has treated a child is unacceptable. We will make sure she becomes a force to be reckoned with. The 3rd Hokage's clone turned to his original self and met his gaze. If I know you as well as I think I do, you've been carrying the weight of this on your shoulders for years. You don't have to worry anymore, I'll do what you couldn't. Sarutobi looked at his clone and nodded in gratitude. I think it's time we leave, the 1st Hokage's clone said. Where should we go? Training her within the village isn't an option, Tobirama pointed out. The village hidden in the whirlpools, the 4th Hokage's clone suggested. It has been abandoned for years, no one would think to search for us there. From what Kushina told me, it's a secluded island surrounded by natural whirlpools, making it the perfect place to train without interruptions. As he spoke, he walked over to the couch where Naruko rested and gently lifted her into his arms. I have some weapons stored in my hidden cache on the Hokage monument. I'll retrieve them and meet you all at the border between the Land of Fire and the Land of Water in 3 hours. Does that work? We all likely have similar stashes, the 3rd Hokage's clone replied. It would be best to split up in case we're spotted. See you in 3 hours. Without another word, he vanished in a blur of leaves. The 4th Hokage's clone gave a nod before disappearing in a flash of golden light, carrying the still sleeping Naruko in his arms. Well, I suppose this is goodbye for now, Sarutobi, the second Hokage's clone remarked. The next time you see that girl, she'll be able to hold her own against even your best shinobi without breaking a sweat, guaranteed. With that, he vanished in a surge of water. The first Hokage's clone gave his former student a solemn look. I can sense that your will of fire has dimmed, Saru. But through this decision, you are reigniting it into an inferno. Farewell, my student. With those final words, he melded into the ground and was gone. With a deep sigh, the real Sarutobi moved to the window overlooking the village, his mind heavy with thoughts of what the future might hold. 1 week later, Uzushiogakur. A 6-year-old Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze stood in an open grassy field, facing her 4 esteemed senseis. She was dressed in loose-fitting black pants, a gray kimono top with a mesh armor shirt underneath, secured by a black sash, and black shinobi sandals. With her hands at her sides and eyes focused forward, she patiently awaited the start of her training. She didn't have to wait long, as the first Hokage stepped forward, offering a kind but serious expression. Well, Naruko, I'm pleased to see that you're mentally prepared for this journey. The road ahead will be challenging. Our goal is to train you to the absolute best of your abilities, Hashirama stated, meeting her gaze with unwavering resolve. We are masters of the shinobi arts, and you are our student. It is our duty to teach, and it is your duty to learn. His tone was firm yet encouraging. Are you ready to begin? Yes, Hashirama-sensei. Naruko responded confidently. Good. Let's begin. And so, the training of a legend, guided by legends, commenced. Year 1, Naruko, age 6. 6 a.m., physical training with Hashirama-sensei, 10 laps around the village with 20 pounds on each wrist and 40 pounds on each leg, followed by 20 laps in the river. 10 a.m., shower and breakfast. 11 a.m., ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu theory with Sarutobi-sensei. 1 p.m., lunch. 2 p.m., basic weapons training, kunai, shuriken, ninja wire, etc., with Tobirama-sensei. 5 p.m., introduction to fuinjutsu, sealing techniques, with Minato-sensei. 7 p.m., dinner. 9 p.m., bedtime. Year 2, Naruko, age 7. 6 a.m., physical training with Hashirama-sensei, 25 laps around the village with 40 pounds on each wrist and 80 pounds on each leg, followed by 40 laps in the river. 10 a.m., shower and breakfast. 11 a.m., chakra control and strategy lessons with Sarutobi-sensei. 1 p.m., lunch. 2 p.m., target practice, tracking, and trap setting with Tobirama-sensei. 5 p.m., beginner level fuinjutsu with Minato-sensei. 7 p.m., dinner. 9 p.m., bedtime. Year 3, Naruko, age 8. 6 a.m., physical training with Hashirama-sensei, 50 laps around the village with 80 pounds on each wrist and 160 pounds on each leg, followed by 60 laps in the river. 10 a.m., shower and breakfast. 11 a.m., chakra control, strategy, and basic academy jutsu with Sarutobi-sensei. 1 p.m., lunch. 2 p.m., advanced tracking, trapping, and target practice with Tobirama-sensei. 5 p.m., intermediate fuinjutsu with Minato-sensei, developing basic personal seals, such as storage seals and explosive tags. 7 p.m., dinner. 9 p.m., bedtime. Year 4, Naruko, age 9. 6 a.m., physical training with Hashirama-sensei, 80 laps around the village with 100 pounds on each wrist and 200 pounds on each leg, followed by 100 laps in the river. 10 a.m., shower and breakfast. 11 a.m., chakra control, strategy, politics, and law studies with Sarutobi-sensei. 1 p.m., lunch. 2 p.m., kenjutsu, swordsmanship, training with Tobirama-sensei. 5 p.m., advanced fuinjutsu with Minato-sensei, learning to identify and deactivate various seal types, such as trap seals. 7 p.m., dinner. 9 p.m., bedtime. Year 5, Naruko, age 10. 6 a.m., physical and earth-style jutsu training with Hashirama-sensei, 500 punches and kicks with each arm and leg against a training post. Traditional weights replaced with gravity seals. 10 a.m., shower and breakfast. 11 a.m., chakra control, fire-style jutsu, and bojutsu, staff fighting, training with Sarutobi-sensei. 1 p.m., lunch. 2 p.m., kenjutsu, water style jutsu, and genjutsu training with Toburama sensei. 5 p.m., wind style, lightning style, and advanced fuinjutsu training with Minato sensei. 8 p.m., dinner. 10 p.m., bedtime. Year 6, Naruko, age 11. 6 a.m., physical and earth style jutsu training with Hashirama sensei, 1000 punches and kicks with each arm and leg. 10 a.m., shower and breakfast. 11 a.m., chakra control, fire style jutsu, and bojutsu training with Sarutobi sensei. 1 p.m., lunch. 2 p.m., kenjutsu, water style jutsu, and genjutsu training with Toburama sensei. 5 p.m., wind style, lightning style, and fuinjutsu training with Minato sensei. 8 p.m., dinner. 10 p.m., bedtime. Year 7, Naruko, age 12. 6 a.m., sparring session with Hashirama sensei. 9 a.m., shower and breakfast. 10 a.m., sparring session with Sarutobi sensei. 1 p.m., lunch. 2 p.m., sparring session with Toburama sensei. 5 p.m., sparring session with Minato sensei. 8 p.m., dinner. 10 p.m., bedtime. Through years of rigorous training, Naruko grew into a disciplined and highly skilled kunoichi, guided by the wisdom and experience of legendary shinobi. The foundation of her journey had been laid, and the future awaited her with limitless possibilities. Otofaku Gai, Fire Country. I need a drink. That was the foremost thought on Naruko Namikaze's mind as she strode down the bustling street toward a dimly lit tavern in Otofaku Gai. It had been 10 long years since she embarked on her arduous journey to master the shinobi arts, 9 years spent training under her mentors and 1 year gaining real-world experience as a bounty hunter known only by the alias Arashi. Now standing at 6 feet 1 inch, Naruko possessed a strong, well-defined physique. Her once short, spiky blonde hair had been woven into neat cornrows that trailed down to the middle of her back. A sleek face mask concealed everything from her nose to her throat, adding to her enigmatic presence. She was dressed in a green camouflage flak jacket over a fitted black t-shirt, with a black sleeveless leather trench coat draped over it. Her arms, wrapped in black athletic tape from elbow to wrist, complemented the black fingerless gloves that covered her hands. She wore Anbu-style pants, paired with gray shin guards and black shinobi sandals, completing her formidable appearance. I need that drink, and I need it now, Naruko thought with urgency. Tomorrow, she would be returning to the village of her birth to offer her services as a shinobi. It was a promise she had made to her mentors, to give the Hidden Leaf village a chance to redeem itself for the past. Though time had passed, she hadn't forgotten her childhood nor the hardships she endured. And forgiveness? That was another matter entirely. Pushing aside the unsettling weight of her thoughts, Naruko quickened her pace toward the tavern, eager to dull the tension creeping into her mind. Upon entering, she made her way directly to the bar and signaled the bartender. "A bottle of sake over here," she requested. The bartender, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, gave her a skeptical look. "You sure you're old enough to be drinking?" Naruko exhaled impatiently. "Look, I can handle my liquor. If I couldn't, I'd have no one to blame but myself. Just bring me the bottle," she replied firmly. With a shrug, the bartender placed a bottle of sake and a saucer in front of her. "Not my problem," he muttered. Yeah, Naruko said, opting to drink straight from the bottle instead of using the saucer. As the warm liquid slid down her throat, she felt the tension in her muscles ease, her nerves settling into a familiar calm. Her gaze drifted over the room, taking in the usual assortment of patrons found in places like this, drunken locals, small-time crooks, and those simply looking for a quiet escape. No one seemed worth the trouble of a confrontation, and she had no interest in starting one. Just as she was about to turn her attention back to her drink, her sharp eyes caught sight of a woman seated alone in the dimly lit corner of the tavern. She appeared to be in her mid-20s, her elegant posture and quiet presence contrasting with the raucous atmosphere around her. A single saucer of sake rested in her hands as she gazed at the liquid in thought. "She's too stunning to be drinking alone," Naruko mused before raising her voice slightly. "Another bottle over here." With the fresh bottle in hand, Naruko made her way toward the woman's table, pausing just before stepping into the shadows. "Excuse me, miss, but someone as elegant as you shouldn't be drinking alone," she said with a confident smile. The woman looked up from her saucer, her deep, captivating eyes meeting Naruko's. "I'm sure that's a line you use often," she said, her tone carrying a hint of amusement. Naruko chuckled. "I'd say so, if I ever came across anyone of your caliber in a place like this. Seems like my luck just changed." May I join you? The woman studied her for a moment before offering a small smile. I wouldn't mind the company. Naruko held up the fresh bottle. How about a refill? Instead of answering, the woman slid her saucer closer. Taking the hint, Naruko poured a generous serving for both of them before raising her own saucer in a toast. To new acquaintances, she said. The woman clinked her saucer against Naruko's. To new acquaintances. And with that, they drank, the night unfolding with quiet conversation and an air of intrigue. The next morning, Naruko stirred, slowly awakening to the sensation of an empty bed. With a quiet groan, she reluctantly opened her eyes, only to shut them again as a beam of sunlight streamed through the window. Ugh. Mornings are the worst, she mumbled. I'm sorry to hear that. Personally, I enjoy mornings, they're a fresh start every day, a familiar voice responded from near the bathroom door. Blinking away the remnants of sleep, Naruko turned toward the voice. She took in the sight of her companion from the previous night and felt a hint of disappointment upon noticing she was already dressed. You managed to slip away and get dressed without waking me? Naruko asked with a small smirk. I've been told I'm quite the cuddler. It wasn't easy, believe me, the woman replied with a light chuckle. But I have to go. My traveling companion will be up soon, and we need to get back on the road. Traveling companion? That's not some secret way of saying you have a husband, is it? Naruko teased, stealing a glance at the door as if expecting someone to barge in. The woman laughed. No, nothing like that. I'm not married. My traveling companion is my teacher, practically family. It was really nice meeting you, and I appreciate the company last night. I truly needed it. She walked over to where Naruko remained reclined in bed, leaned down, and pressed a soft, lingering kiss to her lips before pulling away. Without turning back, she made her way toward the bedroom door. Goodbye, Arashi, she said with a warm smile. Goodbye, Shizune, Naruko murmured to the now empty room. Halt! A firm voice called out as Naruko approached the gates of her home village. After Shizune left the room, it didn't take long for Naruko to follow suit. She took a quick shower and dressed in what she considered her work attire, a clean version of the outfit she had worn the day before. As she neared the village entrance, she was stopped by two guards. The one who had spoken had shaggy black hair, a goatee, and a bandage across his nose. He wore the standard Konoha shinobi uniform, his forehead protector tied securely in place. His partner, standing beside him, had brown hair and dark eyes, dressed similarly but wearing his headband in a bandana style. State your business, the guard with the bandage inquired. I'm a bounty hunter. I have a priority target to report directly to the Hokage or Ibiki Morino. It's for their eyes only, Naruko responded calmly. Identification? With a small sigh, Naruko unhooked a pocket on her flak jacket, retrieving her bounty hunter's license. She handed it over, waiting as both guards examined it carefully and recorded the necessary information before returning it. Everything checks out. All right, Arashi-san, proceed to the Hokage Tower. It's the tall white building with the kanji for fire on it. You'll find the Hokage on the top floor, the shinobi with the bandana instructed. Thank you, Naruko said politely before stepping into the village. She walked at a steady pace, taking in her surroundings while sorting through her emotions. Let's see. There's frustration about being back, resentment for making that promise in the first place. But there's also anticipation, seeing the old man again. No nostalgia, though. That confirms it. I don't miss this place, just one person in it. Lost in thought, Naruko made her way to the Hokage Tower almost on autopilot. Before she knew it, she stood in front of the Hokage's secretary. My name is Arashi. I have a priority bounty to deliver to the Hokage, she stated professionally. The woman behind the desk nodded. Please have a seat while I check if the Hokage is available. She knocked on the Hokage's office door before stepping inside. Within moments, she returned. The Hokage will see you now, Arashi-san. May I offer you some tea or coffee? No, thank you, miss, Naruko declined politely before proceeding into the office. Stepping inside, she was struck with a rare wave of nostalgia. This is where everything changed for me, she thought, glancing around. Her eyes landed on the couch where she had once rested after a certain painful night, then drifted to the center of the room, where her four mentors had quite literally appeared in her life. Finally, her gaze settled on the only other person in the room. She almost paused in surprise. It's like stepping through a time warp. The last time I saw him, he was 30 years younger. This is surreal. The Hokage observed her with a discerning look. Arashi-san, I've heard of your reputation as a bounty hunter. It's quite rare to see someone so young consistently bringing in their targets, whether captured or neutralized, he remarked in a measured tone. I was told you have an important bounty for me. Yes, sir. Aside from that, I have other matters I'd like to discuss with you. But first, let's take care of this, Naruko said, unfastening a compartment on her flak jacket. She retrieved a scroll wrapped with a red band and held it up. This contains the remains of Aoi Rokuso, a missing nin from Konoha, she stated. Then, she pulled out another scroll, this one with a green band. As further proof, this contains the sword of the thunder god, the Raijin. Sarutobi immediately unsealed the green scroll, his eyes widening slightly as he confirmed the authenticity of the legendary blade, an heirloom of his late mentor, Tobirama Senju. Without missing a beat, he made a subtle hand signal. An Anbu operative wearing a bear mask appeared beside him in an instant. Take this, Sarutobi instructed, handing over the red-banded scroll. Deliver it to Anbu headquarters for verification. Understood, Lord Hokage, the masked shinobi responded before disappearing in a blur of motion. Turning back to Naruko, Sarutobi studied her carefully. That sword is worth far more than Aoi Rokuso's bounty. You could have kept it. Why turn it in? He asked, his tone tinged with curiosity. Naruko wasn't surprised by the question. She had long since grown accustomed to people doubting her motives. Bounty hunters weren't much different from mercenaries in most people's eyes. I have too much respect for the Senju clan to keep a family heirloom that doesn't belong to me, she answered honestly. Besides, I have no use for it. It's not my style. Now, while we wait for confirmation, may we discuss the other matter I mentioned? Sarutobi raised an eyebrow at the sudden shift in topic but saw no harm in hearing her out. Perhaps the conversation would even help him recall why this young woman seemed so familiar. Very well, I'm listening, he said. Clearing her throat, Naruko glanced at the room's corners where hidden Anbu were stationed. What I have to say is personal. I would prefer to discuss it privately. Understanding her request, the Hokage nodded and signaled for the remaining Anbu to vacate the room. Once they were alone, he looked at her expectantly. In response, Naruko reached up and pulled down her face mask, watching as realization dawned on Sarutobi's face. His eyes widened in disbelief. Oh. Kami. Naruko, he whispered. Before we go any further, you should activate a security barrier. I don't want anything I'm about to say to reach the wrong people, Naruko stated firmly. Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded, swiftly activating a security seal beneath his desk. Before Naruko had a chance to react, she was suddenly lifted into a strong embrace, one that could have easily crushed a tree trunk. Wheeze. Gigi, I can't breathe. Naruko managed to gasp out. Sarutobi quickly released her, stepping back with an apologetic chuckle. My apologies, my dear. It's just so good to see you again. Honestly, I never expected you to return after everything that happened. Naruko's expression softened but remained serious. I promised my teachers I would give Konoha another chance. They taught me the value of forgiveness, but also the importance of never forgetting. Sarutobi gave a solemn nod. Speaking of your teachers, what became of them after your training? A small, knowing smile crossed Naruko's face. Well, when you put four powerful warriors together, what do you think happens? They decided to settle things in their own way, a grand battle royale, she chuckled. I didn't stick around to watch the outcome. Staying there would have been too risky, I might have gotten caught in the crossfire. Sarutobi let out a hearty laugh, imagining the chaos of such a clash. I would be surprised if Uzu is still standing after that. But enough of that, tell me about your training. Tell me about yourself. Both of them returned to their seats as Naruko began outlining her experiences. Training was exactly what you'd expect under such formidable mentors, grueling, relentless, and at times overwhelming. They pushed me beyond my limits, but every second was worth it. They trained me for 9 years, and for the past year, I've been gaining real-world experience as a bounty hunter. Sarutobi looked impressed. Yes, as Arashi. Your reputation precedes you, you've gained quite a name for always bringing in your targets successfully. Naruko nodded. It was during my work as a bounty hunter that I uncovered something important, something that made me return to Konoha sooner than planned. She met Sarutobi's gaze with unwavering seriousness. Orochimaru is planning to invade Konoha during the final round of the Chunin exams this year. Sarutobi's expression shifted instantly, the weight of her words sinking in. He observed the determined look in Naruko's eyes. Her training must have been intense. She wasn't exaggerating when she said they pushed her beyond her limits. How did you come across this information? Sarutobi asked, now fully in his Hokage mode. Naruko sighed and leaned back slightly. A few months ago, I was passing through the land of rice when I heard rumors about a new shinobi village recruiting fighters. It's called the village hidden in the sound. I decided to investigate, and when I discovered that Orochimaru was leading it as the Otokage, I immediately became suspicious. Something didn't feel right. She paused for a moment before continuing. I didn't leave right away, I needed to gather information first. The village was clearly preparing for something big. Since I was one of the lower-ranking members, I wasn't privy to much, but a few overconfident shinobi who couldn't handle their drinks were. They let slip that they were preparing for an invasion of Konoha. Silence filled the room as Sarutobi processed this revelation. His mind raced. Arrangements need to be made. A full council meeting must be called, security strengthened, civilians protected. And where in the world is Jiraiya? This is exactly the kind of intelligence he should have gathered already. Sensei, you still with me? Naruko's voice pulled him from his thoughts. He exhaled deeply. Yes, I'm listening. Do you have anything else to discuss? Naruko nodded. Yes, I want to officially join the ranks. There's a law that states if a citizen of Konoha has been trained by a Chunin ranked or higher shinobi, they can bypass the academy with the Hokage's approval. That's exactly what I want to do. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow. That law is as old as I am. How did you know about it? Naruko smirked. You taught me. The Hokage chuckled, shaking his head. I don't see any issues with that. Honestly, sending you to the academy would be a waste of time. Is there anything else? Yes, for now, I want to go by Arashi. I'm not ready to announce my return just yet. Like I said, I can forgive, but I won't forget. And if someone attacks me unprovoked, I won't let it slide. Her voice was calm but carried an undeniable edge. Sarutobi studied her carefully before nodding. Understood. However, you will be on probation for at least a year to prove your loyalty. If you're not, people will start asking, why does she get special treatment? And we want to avoid unnecessary attention. Would you like me to arrange a place for you to stay? Naruko shook her head. I can handle that myself. You'll hold the rank of Jinan, and if you want a promotion, you'll need to go through the Chunin and Jonin exams like everyone else. Report to the missions office tomorrow at 10 a.m. for your first assignment. You'll either work solo or be placed with an existing Jinan team until I can arrange something permanent. Naruko stood and bowed slightly. Understood. I'll see you tomorrow, sensei. She turned to leave. Arashi. Sarutobi called out suddenly. She turned just in time to catch an object he tossed her, a headband with the Konoha symbol and a long black strap, much like the one he himself wore. A warm smile spread across Naruko's face. Thanks, Gigi. With that, she walked out of the office, ready to begin her next chapter. Outside on the streets. First things first, food. Let's see, what do I want? Ramen, barbecue, ramen, dengo, ramen, sushi. Or ramen? Tough choice. Naruko's thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice calling her name. Arashi? Is that you? Someone called from ahead. Asuma? She responded, surprised to see the bearded, ever-calm shinobi. Asuma Sarutobi had been one of the first people she met when she started working as a bounty hunter. Back then, he had a more rugged look compared to the refined appearance he had now. He wore the standard Konoha uniform with a sash bearing the kanji for fire at his waist. Well, I never expected to run into you here in Konoha of all places. Are you here for work? He asked, exhaling smoke from the corner of his mouth. Actually, yeah. I'm also here to join the ranks, Naruko said, holding up her new headband with a small smile. That calls for a welcome drink. My treat. I won't say no to a free drink. Come on, I know a good place nearby, Asuma said, leading the way past a few bustling food stalls. It was a quiet 5-minute walk before they arrived at a bar called the Wet Leaf. It was a known shinobi gathering spot, similar to the places Naruko was used to frequenting. As long as you were respectful and minded your own business, it was a good place to relax. They grabbed a couple of bottles of sake and were about to choose a table when Asuma noticed some familiar faces. Mind if we join some friends of mine? He asked. Not at all, lead the way. Asuma led her to a table in the back corner where 3 individuals were seated, people Naruko instantly recognized. She had never met them personally, but their faces were well known from various intelligence reports and bingo books. Hey guys, this is Arashi. Arashi, let me introduce. No need, Naruko interrupted, glancing at them with an amused smile. That's Kurenai Yuhi, a genjutsu specialist. There's a 5 million Ryo bounty on her in the hidden grass for outmaneuvering one of their top-ranking jonin. Next to her is Anko Mitarashi, skilled in snake summoning, poisons, and interrogation. Hidden Rock has a 10 million bounty on her alive, 5 million otherwise. Highly dangerous, approach with caution. And of course, Kakashi Hatake, also known as the Copy Ninja. Said to have copied over 1,000 jutsu, highly intelligent, and a former student of the 4th Hokage. Kumo has a bounty of 15 million on him for his role in the last war, and Hidden Rock's offering 50 million for the same reason. Naruko chuckled, shaking her head. Asuma, you sure keep some well-known company. Her detailed knowledge caught the attention of the three shinobi. Anko smirked, raising her sake cup. Ha! Any mission worth doing is worth doing right. Kurenai, meanwhile, sighed. Honestly, I wish I had handled that jonin a little differently. Next time, I'll be sure to make my point even clearer. Kakashi simply lowered his book, a rare sign of interest from the notoriously aloof shinobi. So, Asuma, who's your friend? Kakashi asked nonchalantly. Seems like they know quite a bit about us. I'm Arashi. Until about 20 minutes ago, I was a bounty hunter. It was part of my job to remember important names, Naruko explained with a casual shrug. Anko leaned forward. New in town, huh? How do you like it so far? Naruko met her gaze and grinned. Well, I've only been here a short while, but everything I've seen so far is absolutely breathtaking. Anko blinked, slightly caught off guard by the unexpected compliment. Arashi? As in the bounty hunter? Kakashi asked, his tone shifting. They call you the perfect storm, because of your flawless track record. Naruko scratched the back of her head, laughing sheepishly. Honestly, I'd prefer a cooler title than Perfect Storm. A name like that puts a lot of pressure on a person. Think about it, what happens when I fail? People mock me, and I start overthinking. Then I'll probably turn to stress eating. If that doesn't work, I'll try reading self-help books. But if those don't help, maybe I'll pick up gardening, only to accidentally overwater the plants. Next thing you know, my house is filled with potted disasters. Eventually, I'd have to move to a remote mountain to escape the shame, and then one day, a squirrel steals my last piece of food, and that's the final straw. By the time she finished her dramatic monologue, the entire table was staring at her, unsure of how to react. A few had sweat drops forming at the back of their heads. Asuma coughed lightly, breaking the silence. Anyway, I met Arashi back in the capital when I was still a guardian ninja. We used to hang out when she was in town. So, why did you decide to join Konoha? I thought you were happy bounty hunting? I was happy, Naruko admitted. But I figured I could serve the Land of Fire in a more direct way as an official shinobi. Kurenai tilted her head. So, where in the Land of Fire were you born? Just outside the gates of Konoha, not too far from the village itself, Naruko responded vaguely, oh, just a little ways outside of the village walls. Technically true, she had been born just beyond them, so, what's fun to do around here? I officially start my shinobi career tomorrow, so I want to enjoy myself before I'm on duty all the time. Well, I know a few places we could check out, Anko said with a smirk. But honestly, I have serious doubts you can keep up with the grown-ups. Naruko grinned, standing up and leaning over the table until she was nearly nose to nose with her. That sounds like a challenge. Oh, it definitely is, Blondie, Anko shot back, lifting a sake bottle in a playful toast. I could outdrink you in an hour, easy. She took a deep sip, grinning as she set the bottle down. Bottoms up, rookie. Naruko picked up her own bottle, matching her energy. By the end of the night, this one will be yours, she said with a confident smirk before taking a drink. Anko nearly choked mid-sip, coughing as she set her bottle down. Anko, are you blushing, or is that just from nearly choking on your drink? Kakashi asked casually, only to be sent face first into the table by a swift punch from the red-faced Kunoichi. Anko slammed her palm on the table with a grin. Barkeep. 10 bottles of your best sake. Loser covers the tab. Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. Deal. 6 months later. Ugh, I'm so bored. Arashi groaned, his voice echoing in the quiet corridor. It had been just over 6 months since he began his service in Konoha, and those months had been a mix of relentless work and tedious routine. Though not entirely unpleasant, the monotony of errands for the Hokage, chores for civilians, and constant training had made time drag. The one bright spot had been Anko, whose company kept things from becoming unbearable. At the moment, Arashi was on his way to the Hokage's office after receiving a summons. Choosing to save time, he activated the Shunshine Jutsu, appearing instantly at the door. Just as he was about to knock, a firm voice called from inside. "Enter." Stepping in, Arashi gave a respectful nod. "You sent for me, Hokage-sama?" "Yes, Arashi," the Hokage replied, looking up from the mountain of paperwork on his desk. "I found a team for you." A newly graduated Jinan squad had an unexpected vacancy. One of the members had a difficult experience during the Capture Tora mission and has chosen to step away from active duty for now. That leaves an open spot, and I believe you'd be a good fit. Arashi took a brief moment of silence for the unfortunate individual. He himself had been tasked with catching Tora, the infamous runaway cat, at least 10 times in the past 6 months. He completely understood why someone might struggle after that ordeal. "So, which team am I joining?" "As far as I know, the only newly formed squads are under Asuma, Kurenai, and Kakashi. Who's the lucky one?" "That would be Kakashi," the Hokage confirmed. And there's more good news. Before discovering his student's situation, Kakashi had already accepted a C-rank mission. "The team is waiting for you at the East Gate as we speak. I know staying in the village has been frustrating for you, so this should be a good opportunity to get back out in the field." A small grin formed on Arashi's face as he nodded. "Thank you, Hokage-sama. It'll be nice to travel again. If they're waiting, I'd better not keep them." With that, he turned toward the door, ready to meet his new team. East Gate. "Kakashi-sensei, what are we waiting for?" "We were supposed to leave 10 minutes ago," asked an impatient Sakura Haruno, her pink hair swaying slightly as she turned to her sensei. She stood beside an equally restless Sasuke Uchiha, both eager to depart. "We're waiting for your new teammate. She should be arriving soon, so try to be patient," Kakashi replied, his attention still on his favorite book. Kazuna, the bridge builder they were assigned to escort, leaned casually against the gate, seemingly unconcerned by the delay. "No need to wait any longer, I'm here," came a confident voice from above. The group turned to see Naruko perched on top of the guard post, a bright grin on her face. Sakura and Sasuke were visibly surprised by her sudden appearance. Where did she come from? Sakura thought in alarm. "I didn't even sense her until she spoke," Sasuke mused, slightly frustrated at himself for letting his guard down. "Now that we're all here, let's get started," Kakashi announced. Since Kaido is unable to continue his career, this is his replacement, Arashi. "Arashi, this is Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. The man leaning against the gate is Tazuna, the bridge builder. Our mission is to escort him safely back to the Land of Waves and protect him while he completes his bridge. We'll do proper introductions later, we're already behind schedule." "Nice to meet you both. I hope we can work well together," Arashi said before following Kakashi through the gate. Sakura and Sasuke exchanged a quick glance before falling into step behind them. Dash. The newly assembled Team 7 moved in a diamond formation. Arashi took the lead, using her experience to watch for any potential threats. Sakura and Sasuke positioned themselves on either side of Tazuna, ensuring his safety, while Kakashi brought up the rear. After about an hour of quiet travel, Sakura decided to break the silence. "Arashi-san, I don't remember seeing you in the academy. How long have you been a shinobi?" Sasuke, though he wouldn't admit it, listened in with interest. "Officially? About 6 months, Arashi replied. "But before that, I worked as a bounty hunter." Sakura's eyes widened. "Really? What was that like?" "It had its ups and downs," Arashi said with a shrug. "I had the freedom to choose my own jobs and wasn't tied to any one place. If I wanted to accept a mission, I could. If I wanted to pass on one, I could do that too." Even as she spoke, Arashi remained alert, constantly scanning their surroundings. That vigilance paid off when she noticed an inconsistency, a puddle of water on the path, despite the fact that it hadn't rained in over a week. Raising her hand, she signaled the team to stop. "That's not a very effective disguise," she remarked. "A puddle in this dry weather stands out too much." 3 out of the 4 other people present looked confused. Suddenly, the puddle shifted, and from it emerged 2 shinobi clad in tattered cloaks and breathing masks. Their headbands bore the insignia of the Hidden Mist, and they each wore metal gauntlets connected by a shuriken chain. "Very observant, Blondie," one of them sneered. "Hand over the old man, and we'll make this quick." Kakashi stepped forward, his usual relaxed demeanor shifting into something far more serious. His book had vanished. The Demon Brothers, Maizu, and Gozu. Chunin level rogue ninja from the Hidden Mist, he identified calmly. How about you two tell us who hired you, and I promise your time in the interrogation division will be minimal. The brothers exchanged a glance before simultaneously declaring, no deal. Without another word, they launched their attack. Arashi, Sasuke, take them. Kakashi ordered. The brothers quickly split apart, extending the shuriken chain between them in an attempt to ensnare their targets. Arashi, moving swiftly, summoned a shuriken and infused it with wind chakra before launching it at the chain. The weapon sliced cleanly through the metal, severing their connection. With a burst of speed, she closed the distance between herself and one of the brothers. Gozu barely had time to react before Arashi grabbed the back of his head and brought her knee up in a powerful strike. The force lifted him off the ground. Before he could land, she was already above him, delivering a crushing heel drop to his stomach, sending him crashing into the ground and creating a small crater. Brother! You should be more concerned about yourself, Sasuke remarked, appearing beside the distracted Maizu. He delivered a precise, forceful kick to his opponent's ribs, sending him crashing headfirst into a tree, knocking him unconscious. The entire exchange lasted less than 5 seconds. Kakashi observed them with approval as he tied up the unconscious shinobi. Well done, both of you. No hesitation, and you exploited their weaknesses effectively. His expression then turned serious as he directed his attention to Tazuna. Now, Tazuna-san, care to explain why you're important enough to have Chunin-level ninja after you? After some stammering, Tazuna confessed the truth about his situation. Kakashi, taking in the new information, put the mission's fate up for a team vote. It's up to you all whether we continue or not, he warned. If we go forward, this mission will only get more dangerous. Arashi folded her arms. The demon brothers are known associates of Zabuza Momochi. If they're here, he's likely the next obstacle we'll face. I'm in. Sasuke smirked. This is my first mission outside the village. I'm not backing down now. Sakura nodded. If Sasuke's going, then so am I. Kakashi gave a nod of approval. Then it's decided. Tazuna, we'll see this mission through and protect you and your family to the best of our ability. Tazuna, overcome with gratitude, bowed slightly. Thank you. Thank you all so much. With their resolve strengthened, Team 7 continued on their journey, unaware of the greater challenges awaiting them in the land of waves. Dear YouTube family. That's a wrap for now. Hope you had a great time watching. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thanks for being here, see you in the next one. 6 Path Weeb.